In the first month of being a member, a messenger stopped me from walking into the members' room, and I suppose he wondered what a 23-year-old woman was doing trying to get in there. But most of them have got used to Marilyn Waring around the house now. Hello.
Morning, Baron.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Backbenchers don't often receive deputations, but I was delighted to see the Well delegation from Hamilton when they were down for the national conference, because I was an inaugural member of Well, and it's a non-partisan organisation, so we can discuss all sorts of things without getting into party politics.
As a young woman in the chamber with all those...
In the chamber it makes very little difference. I think, in fact, it was Bob Tizard in the first book Austin Mitchell ever published in this country called Government by Party, and he was a backbencher then, and Austin Mitchell interviewed him. And he said, you know, by the time things get to the House, Mitchell was suggesting to Tizard that by the time things get to the House, there's damned all you can do about them. And Bob Tizard said, look, you can say some very strong things down there and you can really mean them. But Mitchell carried on making the point. You can say all the strong things in the world, but by the time things get to the House, the decisions are made. And that's really the truth. You know, the infighting goes on in these corridors and in the caucus committees and in caucus.
And do you feel you're fighting in the corridors and in caucus?
Oh, too right.
So you've really got to be accepted with all these people, just as, you know, a young person in these corridors, don't you? Those people have got to be able to talk to you, or you've got to be able to talk to them.
Well, I don't know. If you suggest to an elderly member of Parliament, or to some, now let's qualify, there's no rash generalisations, to some older members of Parliament that they don't, A, represent women, or B, represent youth, they will dispute you to the end and tell you how much time they spend at their local teachers' college and how much time they know all about it. They know all about what it's like being 23 today, you know. And by the way, I've got children your age, you know. And they know all about being female, yes. And you can't, you know, I can't thresh that one too hard, because obviously I'm representing the people their age and my electorate too, and saying that I do it well enough.
Do you feel then that it's putting an awful lot on you being a woman in that context?
It's pretty heavy, yes, it's pretty heavy.
Because it's going to be no let up for it, is there?
No.
And what about the side issues like telephone services at home, sufficient economic background to enable you to have a mortgage-free house, say, in your electorate and a place in Wellington? How do you sort of, you know, cope with this sort of thing?
Well, it has its advantages, distinct advantages, but it's got lots of disadvantages. You haven't got an unpaid wife at home answering the phone all the time. So I've got an answer phone in that directs them to ring a secretary in my electorate to whom I pay a pittance. Well, yeah, but I pay, well, the answer phone costs as much as the secretary, just about. There are all sorts of allowances and things built into this system which are obviously for elderly gentlemen. You see, your spouse gets some travel allowances, and if your spouse, if you don't happen to have a spouse, then you have to get the Prime Minister's permission for the person to whom you wish to delegate this particular allowance. You know, in my opinion...
Have you done that before?
Well, my mother, but I don't really think it's... You see, the really funny thing is that this allowance was instituted so that the males might have hostesses in Wellington when they felt like it. Well, I think it's daft, because, you know, I want a host in Wellington when I feel like it. And I'm not going to nominate one name for 3 years at my age. That's ridiculous, you know.